All right. Let's see here. Okay. Yes, we are talking about some severe weather that has unfortunately made its way into Wobbles right now.
Yes, we are
Primarily in the form of a confirmed tornado that is not into Logan County yet, but it will be moving there very shortly. So we're going to go ahead and get into radar here and see exactly what we're talking about. And I'll have the chat pulled up so that way if anyone has any questions, you guys are more than welcome to ask them. So what we're talking about right here is, looks like from the radar just west of Guthrie, where you have that little curve, that is going to be our tornado. It's important to remember this is no longer a potential tornado. This is a confirmed tornado. This has been confirmed through visual observation as well as through radar observations. So this is again a confirmed tornado heading toward probably just north of, or actually probably just heading pretty much straight towards Guthrie, and then we'll eventually move into Allensville, Olmsted, and into Logan County. Again, it's not into Logan County yet, but it will be moving there probably very shortly. And it's important to mention the tornado warning for this right now is a PDS tornado, which is a particularly dangerous situation, which means this is not a great situation. This is a tornado that means business, and it is in an environment where it will likely thrive and continue to go, at least for a little bit. Not sure how far into Wobbles it will be able to make it, but that is what we're here to examine and figure out. Let's see here. Our best hope is that for this tornado to move into to move out of the favorable environment, which it's possible, but I'm not entirely sure how likely that will be quite yet. I got somebody here asking me how strong the tornado is. You cannot really tell how strong these tornadoes are during. It's always an after event, and it is just extremely hard to figure out exactly how strong these tornadoes are during the actual tornado. But what's to remember is that all tornadoes are dangerous, and the fact that this is on the ground and heading into Wobbles, that's what we need to worry about right now. So I'm going to put this over here, keeping an eye on the Weather Service chat here, seeing if there's any reports of damage quite yet. There are pictures circulating from I-24 near this that there are funnel clouds from this tornado, or there are pictures from this, and Weather Service is confirming that debris is being lofted over 10,000 feet, which means this thing has its act together. It's impossible to give you a number, EF 0 through 5, but the fact that it is lofting debris that high and being confirmed to do that means it's pretty strong. And actually, we're going to go ahead and switch over to a different radar site real quick, because although being that close to the radar will give us a great reflectivity picture, it's going to struggle in the velocity department. And there we are, right where those two colors come together, the dark red and the brighter blue. That is your tornado. And switching over to correlation coefficient, and in a nutshell, this can be used during severe weather to determine if there is debris in the air. And like I just mentioned, the Weather Service was confirming that debris was being lofted over 10,000 feet, and right there, that blue ball, that is the debris ball that where the tornado is picking up debris, where it has hit stuff. So not a good situation, but It's just something that we need to go ahead and be taking cover in. Those of you in Logan County, I would go ahead and be in shelter right now. You've got a little bit of time to get stuff ready, get your shoes on, helmets, blankets, everything that you need to take cover, and you've got time to grab that right now and get into shelter. That's why the warning was put out so far. That's why the warning was put out pretty far in advance, because this is something that clearly has its act together. And so you don't need to rush to the basement quite yet, but you need to be getting your supplies ready to go down there right now. Again, for those of you who aren't aware, basement or tornado shelter is going to be your best option. That's going to be your primary option. If you don't have that, lowest floor of your home, away from outside walls and windows, preferably like a closet or a bathroom, and get in there and hunker down, get stuff to cover your head, and to go from there. Again, this hasn't actually made it into Wobbles quite yet, but at the rate it's going, it shouldn't be very long. And our best bet is to pray that this can lift in time. All right. When this does get closer, we can get a pretty good idea. We can try our sky cams to see if they have any pictures of this, because probably our latest really big severe weather events have almost always been at night, and in this case it's 2 in the afternoon. So if there is a tornado on the ground, well, in this case, if it stays on the ground and into a favorable position for our sky cams, we should be able to see it. So for those of you who aren't aware, if you go to our website, weather.bg, wx.bg.com, you can find under tools our sky cams. We have several sky cams facing different directions throughout Wobbles. You can go ahead and look at those yourself, see what there's out there, and as this gets closer here in a few minutes, we'll probably go ahead and just start looking at them to see what we can find. Yes, if you on our Twitter right now, I'm looking right here. We have retweeted a video of the tornado near Clarksville, Tennessee. So again, go and look at that, and you can see exactly what we're talking about. This is not one of the situations where we're not sure if there's a tornado. There is very clearly a tornado on the ground doing damage. So if you know anybody in the areas near Guthrie, near Allensville, Elkton. Actually, Elkton is fine. You are not in the warning. Olmsted, that is where they need to be taking cover. As far as an ETA goes for actual Warren County and everything, you are probably still an hour out, and that is actually a good thing. The likelihood of a tornado being on the ground that long consistently to make it into Bowling Green is low. It's not impossible. I want to state that it is very possible, but it is not likely. What these storms have been doing most of the day they are being cyclic, or they are cycling, where they'll bring the tornado down for a little bit, come back up for a while, recycle, and then drop another one. That is how these supercells act a lot of the time, and I'm sure this is probably what we're going to be dealing with right here. So hopefully it will cycle up before it can do anything else, getting closer to Wobbles and getting into Bowling Green, but there's just no way to really tell quite yet. The other thing to worry about, though, since it is cyclic, it can go up for a little while and then come back down. So as it gets into Wobbles, it is very likely that it could dissipate, go back up, and then as it gets closer into Wobbles, it could go back down again. There's just no way to know quite yet. But given the environment here, we're going to go ahead and look at some stuff. there's still plenty of instability to keep a storm going, and the wind energy for this is more than enough, though. So that's kind of what we're dealing with here. We've got an environment that is obviously supportive of tornadoes and will likely continue to support this until it decides to cycle or until something goes away. And that is what we are hoping for right now. In fact, right now I'm actually going to, let's go ahead and take a look at one of our sky cams that is facing west. Again, this is way too far out to actually see a tornado from any of our sky cams. It's just way too far, but we can see the overall structure of the storm and see what things are looking like here. And I bet our Gold City sky cam is probably going to be our best bet here. And yeah, so again, obviously we're not going to see a tornado with this quite yet on the sky cams, but you can see this is facing due west. You can definitely see skies darkening out to the west, and that is what is slowly moving towards us right now. Let's see here. I'm going to go back to the radar here. Let's see what this is looking like on velocity. Let's actually switch to storm relative. It's not the highest wind values that I've ever seen, which is good, but it is very tight, very, very tightly wound, which means, like I said, it has its act together, and not really a good sign for it weakening quite yet. This is still a pretty impressive signature. In fact, we're going to do a measurement here of the what we call the VROT, or the VROT, which is basically a measurement of how strong the rotation could be. So we're going to set a marker down right there. We're going to find our strongest wind values here and hit that. It's a VROT of about 47 knots, which is fairly strong, which makes sense as to what we're dealing with right here. It's not the strongest I've ever seen, but it is still up there. And actually, I'm going to switch back to the Hopkinsville radar real quick just to see what this looks like from a reflectivity standpoint. And from velocity, yeah, that little area right there, that is your tornado. And it is, your correlation coefficient is much messier because you are so close to the radars. And for those of you who don't know, the closer you get to the radar, and the radar is right here in this little circle right here, this is Fort Campbell. The closer you get to the radar, the closer to the ground the radar beam gets. Due to the curvature of the Earth and the angle that the radar scan at, the further away you get, the higher up in the sky that the beam is at. And in this case, the lower to the ground you are, generally that's what you want, but it also can add in a lot of noise and things that are kind of hard to read. I'm going to go back to, let's see here. Okay. But even with all the noise, it's pretty obvious that that is a debris ball right now. And in fact, what we're going to do here actually, we're going to tilt this radar up. So again, another thing, there are different tilts. So the lowest tilt is about 0.5 degrees. The radar does its scan and then angles up to about 0.8 degrees, does another scan, and it keeps going, and these intervals. And so you can get a clearer picture of not only what's going on at the lowest levels, but the upper levels, because that's also very, very important. So as we move up, that debris ball is still very, very evident, and this is about 4,000 feet. So that means at the bare minimum, debris at this frame is being lofted about 4,000 feet. and that's about 5,000, and then it starts to taper off quite a bit. And at that point, that still could be some of the debris it's picking up, but it's so messy that I'm not comfortable saying that's exactly what it is yet. And new frame just came in. This is looking like it's going to hit Allensville, dead center. There's a different product I'll get to in just a second, but it looks like the debris ball of the tornado is going to hit Allensville probably in the next 5 to 10 minutes. Probably sooner than that, actually, probably the next 2 to 5 minutes. And it's probably going to hit it dead on. So that is very, very unfortunate. So if you are in Allensville or know anybody in Allensville, you need to get a hold of them right now. Tell them they need to be in shelter right now. They don't have the time to gather everything they need right now. They just need to gather what they can very quickly and get down to their tornado safe shelter right now. Because that looks like it's going to hit Allensville dead on. And I'm going to take away some of these polygons real quick. Yeah, so there's Allensville, and it looks like it's, like I said, it's going to hit it head on. And after that, Olmsted is probably going to be your next community of big concern, and that is into Logan County, so that will be as it gets into Wobbles. But I was really hoping that this would kind of start to look weaker by now, but it so far hasn't. And we're going to take another look here. That's very strong. Okay, it hasn't updated the higher tilts yet. And moving back a few, okay, this is also another radar product that is called normalized rotation. The radar can derive all these different products and give a value of the strength of the rotation. And so it's useful just to see exactly where the strongest rotation is, but this is the radar doing it through algorithms and math and everything, and sometimes it isn't always the most accurate, but in this case it's looking like it's doing a pretty good job. And we are dealing with values of about 2.6, which is considered to be extreme. Anything over, I believe, 2.5 is considered to be extreme. So that doesn't necessarily tell you the strength of the tornado, that just tells you more the strength of the rotation. And in this case, it is rotating. It's got very strong rotation on it, and again, so far it doesn't really have any signs of letting up quite yet. And there's Allensville. There's your likely where your tornado will be, and again, it's looking like it's going to hit it head on. I'm going to take a look at our Twitter right here, see if there's anything new, any new reports coming out of this, any pictures. Because again, guys, this is a very serious situation. This is a lot of times as we get in. Oh, actually, okay, we're going to see this. The NROT has, or the normalized rotation has weakened quite a bit. It's down to about 1.5, which is still very strong, but it's not extreme. And it looks like it's pretty much just on the outskirts of Allensville. It's probably, considering this is probably actually about a minute old already, it's probably in Allensville right now as we speak. And then it will be moving into Olmsted next, probably the next 15 minutes. Probably more 10-15 minutes actually. So if you're in Olmsted, you need to be taking shelter right now, and that is as we get into Logan County. So actually, I'm going to bring these polygons back here. And the tornado warning for Logan County, let me see here. Yeah, if you go on Twitter right now, if you just look up Clarksville tornado, it looks like there's plenty of videos of this. So if you want some proof as to what's actually going on, there it is. But it looks like the tornado warning for Logan County has been upgraded to a PDS tornado warning. So again, it's a particularly dangerous situation. For more context, there are different tiers of tornado warnings. You have your base one, which is just your red polygon, where they just see the rotation and they think there's potentially a tornado on the ground. And then you have your tornado confirmed. So that's whenever you have the tornado has been confirmed. tornado has been confirmed, and then you have, once it's been confirmed and it's very strong, you have the PDS tornado warning. And then the step after that is tornado emergency, and that is where you do not want to be, but we are not at that yet. It looks like, just seeing on the warning text for Logan County, it's been visually confirmed, and they are expecting to do considerable damage if it is heading towards you. Let's go back here and take a look. Alright, a new tornado warning has been issued for the city of Bowling Green, as this clearly is showing no signs of stopping quite yet. So again, the outskirts of Bowling Green, or actually the entirety of the city of Bowling Green, is under a tornado warning, as well as the communities further west of Auburn, Russellville, Middleton, Woodburn, Rich Pond, Memphis Junction. All those areas are under a tornado warning as well. So it looks like the tornado has now moved out of Allensville, and will be probably, based on this, it might go just to the south of Olmsted, but it's close enough to where you are going to want to be in your tornado safe shelter in Olmsted right now. Let's take a look here. Yeah, again, still a very strong rotational couplet. And I'm going to switch over to the Nashville radar real quick, just to see see what that one looks like right here. And of course, this is, since we are switching to a radar further away, this is higher up, but sometimes it can still give a very good picture. As this storm moves further away, or to the east of the Hopkinsville radar, the radar is going to have to scan through more storm, essentially, and it can lose some of its features and not be as accurate. Whereas the Nashville radar is further away, but it has a clearer picture into the storm. And even at this radar at high up, this beam height is about 3,000 feet. It is still a very strong signature. So again, it'll likely pass just south of Olmsted, and then move into, again, I'm going to take these polygons away real quick. Corinth looks like it could be on a direct path, as well as Middleton, Auburn, and then later on Woodburn and Rich Pond, but those are much further away right now. Okay, so I'm going to bring those polygons back here, just so we can kind of see what we're dealing with. Again, for those of you just joining, this is a confirmed tornado that has seen visual confirmation. It has been on the ground since around Clarksville, Tennessee, and is now moving into Logan County, Kentucky. It really has shown no serious signs of letting up quite yet, but we are still monitoring the potential, or we are hoping that this will start to weaken as it moves further into WABBLES. Again, confirmed tornado. This has been visually seen, and this is moving into WABBLES, and tornado warnings are in effect for the city of Bowling Green, Memphis Junction, Rich Pond, Woodburn, Middleton, Auburn, Corinth, and it technically does include Russellville, but you are on the outer edge of that right now. But it does technically include Russellville. For those of you, yeah, so the cows are going off in Bowling Green because Bowling Green is now under a tornado warning. If you are in Bowling Green, you don't necessarily need to be taking shelter quite yet. Again, this is kind of something I talked about earlier. Now is a good time to get everything you might need. Make sure you got your shoes on. Make sure you've got, since it's getting into winter, get your winter coat on, helmets, anything, blankets, anything to protect you from any sort of flying debris. Flying debris is going to be the biggest thing that hurts you in these tornadoes. And even Bowling Green is under the tornado warning, but you still have quite a bit of time until this actually gets to you. So this is when you need to be taking this time to making your preparations if you haven't already, and go ahead and be ready to go to the basement at a moment's notice. And actually, as soon as you get your stuff ready, go ahead and get into your tornado safe zone. Even though it's pretty far away, as soon as you have everything ready, go ahead and get into that shelter. It's better to do it now, and be better safe than sorry until this gets closer, and then you have to go there last minute. Again, I'm gonna keep looking through some stuff right now to see if there's any more reports as it is moving into Logan County. Looks like the Weather Service, oh, never mind. Yeah, they just they canceled the warning for Todd County there, as it has moved out of there. So even though this is outside of Wobbles, anybody that is in Todd County here, you are now officially in the all clear. However, in Wobbles in Logan County, you are not in the all clear, and this is a very dangerous situation. And I'm going to go ahead and take a look here. I'm going to do another measurement here of the VROT. Place a marker here. You got a VROT of about 45 knots, so that's about what it was when we checked it several frames ago. So looks like it's holding its strength right now. It's not necessarily getting stronger, but it is holding its strength, and it is already a very strong signature. I'm gonna go ahead and again just see what's going on Twitter here, see if there's any more reports. I'm gonna take a quick look here. And unfortunately, this is still too far away to really see stuff on our sky cams. As it moves closer, though, that will change, and hopefully we can get a better picture of what exactly is going on here. But unfortunately, it is still too far away right now. We're going to switch products here back to the correlation coefficient. It is weaker, but it is still maintaining a drop in values, which indicates most likely debris. And considering this is going over a pretty rural area right now, that is to be expected. That doesn't necessarily mean that it is weakening right now, considering that the velocity is maintaining its strength and the correlation coefficient isn't quite as strong. Most likely that's just because it is going over mostly open farmland right now, and an unfortunate part of the correlation coefficient, for it to really pick up or to really see what's going on, it has to pick up the debris. And if there's nothing to pick up there in case of mostly farmland, it's just not going to register it as strongly as, unfortunately, a more densely packed area with whether it be commercial or residential, unfortunately. But it is still maintaining a pretty fairly strong drop in values. And at this, I'm gonna take this back a few frames and see kind of the angle it might be moving. Looks like at the angle it's moving right now, Corinth is going to be the next community to really be a big concern. It's looking like it could hit Corinth fairly head on right now, and then after that it'd probably be maybe Auburn. Auburn is probably a little bit too north, but regardless, you're in that warning, so you need to be taking shelter. But I would imagine Corinth, this will probably be in Corinth in the next 15 minutes, 10-15 minutes, since that new frame just came up, and it looks like they may be wanting to turn a little bit more to the north, which would maybe thread the needle between Auburn and Corinth. But regardless, Auburn and Corinth right now are definitely the biggest communities of concern right now. So if you're in those areas, you need to be taking shelter right now. Corinth and Auburn, you need to be in a shelter right now. So far, nothing new coming out of the Weather Service out of Louisville about this going on, and that makes sense. This just now got into their jurisdiction. The Louisville Weather Service jurisdiction starts in Logan County, so this is just now getting into their neck of the woods. And I'm going to go ahead and switch back to the Hopkinsville radar and just see what that's looking like right now. And yeah, still pretty messy with the signature, but on velocity, that is still a very strong velocity couplet. It's very tightly wound. A lot of times we'll see with these weaker signatures, the colors are up right next to each other, but they're not really like intertwining in with each other like they are in this case, which is not a good sign if you want this to be weaker. This is all indications of a pretty strong tornado. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, the NROT values for this one out of the Hopkinsville radar at about 1.8, so it's thankfully not at the extreme levels, but this is still considered very strong and significant. And before it gets into Corinth right now, and actually it's worth noting that on its current path, it's going to get fairly close to the far south side of Russellville. So everybody in Russellville should be in shelter because you are in the tornado warning, but especially so for the southern half. That is what's really concerning me, because that's looking pretty awfully close. It looks like it'll be more of a close call. So before it gets into Corinth, what I'm going to want to do here is I'm going to switch back to the Nashville radar here, and I'm going to see with this radar software right here, you can take a cross section of the storm here, and I'm going to see if we can find out exactly how strong or how tall up this debris ball is. And unfortunately, it looks like it is not wanting to get picked up on this stream, so this may not be really worth it in this case. But from what I can see, debris is clearly being lofted just shy of 20,000 feet in this frame. So that is an incredibly strong, I don't want to say incredibly strong, that is a very strong signature. It's not the strongest I've seen. I've seen debris be lofted over 30,000 feet, and we are just under 20. So it is up there, but not quite as strong as I've seen or that it could be. And while this is happening, I'm going to see if there's any way I can make this show up for you guys on stream. Probably won't be able to, but that is all right. That is not what is important right now. And again, let's take a look at their velocity. Still a very impressive signature. I was really hoping by now it would start to broaden or become weaker, but so far it doesn't look like it's the case. Okay, this is from the Weather Service in Louisville. The tornado has been on the ground for some time and continues to move into a favorable environment. That's kind of something we mentioned earlier. We've been hoping that it would weaken by now, but unfortunately that's not the case, and that does make sense because you are just in a very favorable environment for tornadoes right now. You've got an incredible amount of wind energy to get these things going, and the instability was enough to kick them off, and now it's like even if the instability were to weaken a little bit, likely the wind shear is enough to keep it sustained right now. But the instability is also not weakening right now, so that doesn't matter. right now, current estimation for Bowling Green, especially the south side of Bowling Green, is going to be about 30 to 45 minutes. All right, new frame just came in. It's looking like it's probably going to go to the north of Corinth, but it is way too close for me to say I don't need to be in a basement right now. If I were in Corinth right now, I would want to be in a basement. Same thing for south side of Russellville. Especially the south and southeast side, I would really want to be in a basement right now, or a tornado safe zone. After that, Auburn looks like it's going to be in the next bullseye right now. Probably in the next 15, 20 minutes. I'm going to take a look at our environment here right now. Yeah, so this storm is actually, earlier it was riding the edge of more instability, and it has actually kind of come out of that into less instability, but is still more than enough to promote severe weather this time of year. Being in the winter times, it does not take much instability, much cape to get storms going and keeping them sustained. It just does not take much, and we do have enough. So I would imagine right now, I'm going to keep hoping and praying that this does weaken, but right now it's got a pretty good chance of making it probably into Warren County right now. Hopefully I'm wrong, but just based on the environment and the fact that it has not really shown any signs of weakening yet, it's got a pretty good chance of making it into Warren County right now. Okay. And we should be getting to a point here somewhat soon where our sky cams will be able to take a look at it. I'll go ahead and it's getting fairly dark on our Gold City sky cam, so I'll go ahead and put that up here. Off to the right side of the screen, that is not by no means the tornado by any means, or yeah, that is definitely not the tornado, but you can definitely see where it's getting darker off to the west. And again, this is what I would expect to continue for a while. But unfortunately, this is still just too far away and not at the right spot for our sky cams to really get a good angle on it quite yet. As it gets closer to Bowling Green, we've got our Lever Lane sky cam that is facing due west. That might help and do a good job of picking it up, but that's still quite a bit ways away. Because it is still from heart of Bowling Green, it is still about 22 miles away. So yeah, our sky cams at Bowling Green are just not going to be able to pick this up. Looks like the Weather Service may have just issued another tornado warning for Bowling Green, or for Bowling Green right now. So let's go ahead and head back to the radar and see what that is doing. It may have just been a repeat though of them continuing it. It may not be a new one. Yeah, so far not a new polygon. Okay, so not a new polygon, but they have upgraded it from a tornado confirmed to a PDS tornado warning. So this is a particularly dangerous situation now for everybody in these polygons. For Corinth, Auburn, Woodburn, Rich Pond, Memphis Junction, Bowling Green, this is a particularly dangerous situation. This is an observed tornado that has not shown any signs really of weakening significantly, and is continuing to move in your general direction. This is still probably about 25 to 35 minutes away from Bowling Green. Next up would probably be Auburn in the next 10 to 15 minutes. Just based on this. Well, this may be one to broaden out a little bit. So let's see what the NROT is. Your NROT's going down a little bit, so looks like over the last couple frames, this is starting to weaken. Just the signatures are weakening just a little bit, not by much. This is still enough to be concerning, but hopefully this is a continuing trend. You still have a CC drop on radar, so this is still likely a debris ball. Very weak, not very noticeable, but it is still there. We're at Nashville. Let's go ahead and switch back and see what the Hopkinsville radar is looking at right now, or seeing. Still very weak. That's still a pretty tight signature, but doesn't look like it's quite as big. So again, hopefully this is cycling right now, or well, actually, hopefully it's not cycling. Hopefully it's just completely weakening. Your normalized rotation's also pretty low, or getting lower. Still enough to where in Auburn or really anywhere in the tornado polygon right now, you need to be taking shelter. But it looks like over the past couple of frames, it is wanting to show a very slight weakening trend. Hopefully that continues. But I'm going to stick with the Nashville radar probably for now on, because that just is going to have a better view of things, more accurate view. I'm going to see if there's anything new on Twitter here, any new reports. Okay, it looks like a new frame just came in here. Looks like it is starting to become a bit broader again, and broader basically means the couplet is overall larger. It doesn't have the kind of like wrapping into itself characteristics that we were seeing earlier when it was at its probably strongest point. So that is another good sign, but this is still far from a non-tornadic signature. This is still definitely a tornadic signature. But let's just hope that this is a continuing trend. And I do want to emphasize, though, even though I'm talking about it starting to show a weakening trend, even with it weakened right now, this is still a fairly strong tornadic signature that needs to be taken very seriously. So even though it might be on a weakening trend right now, at least over the past couple of frames, as long as the tornado warnings are out, everybody in these communities needs to be in shelter right now, especially Auburn. Auburn is going to be the next community that it likely impacts. Probably in the next 10, maybe 15 minutes. But to put this into perspective too, I'm going to go back here. This has been consistently on the ground since about, I believe, around the Oakwood area and near Clarksville. So this has been on the ground for, let's just put a marker here, likely been on the ground for up to close to 40 miles. It'll take, the Weather Service will have to survey that to see exactly if that is the case, but we've had consistent signatures on this for past 40 miles, which is very significant. Looks like this latest batch of data is continuing to show that broadening trend. But again, I need to emphasize this is still a clearly tornadic signature that needs to be taken seriously. It just doesn't look quite as pronounced as it was, but it is still there, and it still is likely on the ground at this point. In fact, let's go to the correlation coefficient here. Looks like the CC drop is likely gone at this point, but again, this has mostly been over rural areas, so that does make sense. So it's hard to tell if this is if the CC drop has gone away because of it weakening, it may be lifting, or just because it has gone over rural farmland and hasn't had the chance to pick up any debris in a while. Once again, let's go back to the Hopkinsville site, just see what that's looking like here. Okay, it's still there. Gosh, let me go back again here. Hard pressed to say that it is definitely weaker compared to the last frame, but again, I can't emphasize enough that even though I'm talking about it being weaker, this is still a pretty stout radar signature. But it looks like the Hopkinsville radar has also lost its debris ball, so that is a good sign. Looks like the Weather Service might have just updated that. There are reports coming out of Logan County and out of Olmsted that there was damage to structures, primarily barns and a few homes. So this has a history of producing damage and is likely probably still in the ground at this point. From a reflectivity standpoint, it has lost a bit of its classic supercell structure, and I think this might be wanting to turn into more of a line, which would be the best case scenario for us. If this were to turn into more of a line with a damaging straight line wind threat compared to a tornado threat, but it's still too early to really say for certain, because you still have a pretty strong rotational couplet there. That is going to be getting very close to Auburn, probably maybe past just south of Auburn. So south side of Auburn is definitely going to be under the gun here soon, but anybody in Auburn needs to be taking shelter. After that, Woodburn and Rich Pond are going to be your next two communities of concern. And again, I'm going to switch here. Yeah, so you can still clearly see a tornadic signature that'll likely pass just on, probably hit the south side of Auburn, but I'd say Auburn is definitely in the neck of the woods for this to get hit by. Okay. And for those of you who are maybe just joining us, we do have a tornado warning for Bowling Green and much of the southwest side of Warren County. And biggest communities right now are going to be including Bowling Green, Memphis Junction, Rich Pond, Woodburn, and Auburn. Auburn being right now the community with the biggest, being in the biggest danger right now. So again, I cannot emphasize enough, if you are in Auburn, you need to be taking shelter right now. The lowest floor of your home, if you don't have a basement or tornado shelter would be your best option. If you don't have that, lowest floor of your home, stay away from outside walls, windows, anything like that. You want to be in the most interior spot of your home, the lowest and the most interior spot of your home you possibly can. In most cases, that's going to be either a closet or a bathroom. Go in there, wrap some blankets around you, put a winter coat on, a helmet, make sure you got your shoes on, and just hunker down, and we will get through this. But again, take shelter, lowest floor of your home, and most interior part of your home. You do not want to be in a room with windows or facing an exterior wall. That is statistically, when these tornadoes do hit homes, if it's strong enough, the only thing that is left standing is going to be that interior home or the basement. So again, you do not want to be on an exterior wall. Or you don't want to be in a room that has the exterior wall if possible. Okay. Yeah, I'd say at this point, especially with what the Weather Service is saying, there's a good chance, since it has lost its debris ball, this tornado may not be on the ground anymore. But given the environment that is still very favorable for tornadoes and the history of this storm, it will likely produce another tornado before it dies, before this storm, the whole storm dies. So don't let your guard down, even though it looks like the cell has weakened and the tornado has probably lifted. You need to still be in shelter for as long as this tornado warning remains in effect, especially the city of Auburn. Auburn, it looks like it is just to the south of Auburn, or in Auburn right now, which means next community of concern will be Rich Pond and or Woodburn. Probably both of them are, and then Memphis Junction after that. So again, even though this has started to show a weakening trend and may have possibly lifted, don't get out of shelter yet. Stay there until the tornado warning has expired or been canceled, because even though it has lifted right now, the environment is still very favorable for tornadoes, and there's a fairly good chance that this will put down another one. It will cycle another one down, and then I don't know when that'll happen. It's very random with these, but supercells like this are notorious for being cyclical. That's what we call cyclical supercells, where they will cycle up for a little while and then come right back down. So do not let your guard down yet at all. As long as we have the tornado warning out, you need to be in shelter. Yeah, it still looks like it's lost its debris ball, and switching back over to the normalized rotation here, it's sitting at right about 1 to 1.1, which is, I believe, right at or just under a significant value. And where we were probably about 30 minutes ago, we were at extreme values, so it is definitely showing a weakening trend right now. But again, I can't emphasize enough, don't let your guard down yet. In fact, I'm going to take a look at something here. Let's get back in here. We should be getting a new radar frame here soon. Really, probably about the next minute or two. I'm gonna go back once more. Well, I say once more, but again, back to the this radar site. Looks like it. Okay, latest frame. If I had to pick this apart from, this frame to last frame, the frame before, it looked like this frame might be slightly stronger than the one we had before it. I still don't have anything as far as the debris ball yet, which is very good, but that is something we need to be watching. And I do want to say, I've mentioned a few times that this is likely lifted. We have no way to confirm that right now, so I would if I were you guys right now, I would assume that this is still on the ground and stay in your tornado safe shelter. Let's see here. Okay. That is interesting. So it's acting like it might want to try and spit something out again here, because it's acting like it might want to tighten up again, and the, let's see here, the outgoing radar flow is, the winds moving away from the radar look like they are increasing in speed. I am nitpicking the crap out of this, so, you know, it's hard to tell right now, but there's still need to be in shelter right now. But I would say right now, the Auburn is almost out of a threat right now. This tornado, if still on the ground, is likely moved out of Auburn, or is just about to. I would still, if you're in Auburn, you still need to be in shelter, but it most likely is just about over for you guys. Okay. And again, I'm going to keep switching back and forth here to see what these things are saying. So, yeah, the national radar is now depicting a very broad and not very tightly wound, radar or velocity signatures, which is a good sign, but that is still a rotation. It's just not as tightly wound or pronounced. So next big community of concern right now, I would say, is going to be Rich Pond and probably the north side of Woodburn. So Rich Pond, Woodburn, and probably in the next few minutes, Memphis Junction, you need to be in shelter. Memphis Junction, probably in the next few minutes, be in shelter, but Rich Pond and Woodburn, you need to be in shelter right now. Even though we are seeing a weakening trend right now, this storm could put down another tornado rapidly at any moment, so you need to still be in shelter. Okay. Nothing on the correlation coefficient here, which is a good sign. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and make this a 2-panel here. So we're going to keep our velocity here on the left and our correlation coefficient here on the right, so we can kind of see both of them at the same time. But again, this is a broad but still rotational radar signature. And again, just going to keep kind of switching back and forth here to see what they're both spitting out. It's really hard to tell exactly what it's wanting to do with this, whether it's strengthening or continuing to weaken right now. Okay, looks like the Weather Service may have updated the tornado polygon again, so we'll wait here in just a few seconds. That should come through. Okay, they have not changed the current polygon. They have actually extended. They have issued a new tornado warning for pretty much the rest of WABBLES at this point, including Smiths Grove, Park City, Glasgow. Basically, this will include the rest of central Warren County, as well as parts of Edmondson and Barron. It looks like it does not include Allen County. This does not include Allen, but it does include Edmondson and Barron here. So southeast Barron and southeast Edmondson and northwest Barron counties. This does include parts of the city of Glasgow, but not the entire city. And it is also worth noting this is a regular tornado warning. Looks like the Weather Service has lost confidence in this still being on the ground, so they're just going with a regular tornado warning as this is still clearly in an environment where a tornado can still be produced. They have just lost confidence in it still being on the ground, but they are still very concerned, obviously, about it cycling. So we are going to continue to stick with you guys here. I'm going to take a look here. Before we're going to, let's see here, let's switch over to one of our sky cams. Let's take a look at our Lover's Lane sky cam. Actually might have a good picture of this right now, so let's take a look. Not really. It's likely still too far away, and it's looking like it, as far as Bowling Green concerned, it's probably going to stick to further to the south side of Bowling Green. So our Lover's Lane is probably not going to get a pretty good picture of this, at least not yet. It's still pretty good ways away. So I'm actually going to go ahead and take this away here and continue to focus on radar, because that continues to be our best tool here for watching the storm. We're going to go ahead and zoom back in here. This is our area of rotation again. Looking like it's going to hit Rich Pond, probably dead on. Rich Pond is your next big community concern, next to Memphis Junction and Woodburn. So Memphis Junction, Rich Pond, and Woodburn, you all need to be in shelter right now, especially the city or community of Rich Pond. Rich Pond is definitely going to be the biggest area of concern right now. And while we're waiting for, let's see here. While we're waiting for another radar frame to come in here, let's look down at the Nashville site. Still fairly broad, and it's pretty consistent as we go up until about 11,000 feet. So it's still very, very broad, but it's still clearly spinning. So it's a broader radar it's a broader rotational picture, but I can tell you this storm is still spinning quite a bit, at least in the closer to the upper levels of the storm, not quite at the surface. And again, doesn't really look like there's anything on correlation coefficient. I'm going to switch this over to the normalized rotational product. And the INROT's really been holding actually pretty consistently in the greens. We're seeing values of about 1.25, 1.3, which is a little bit higher. So I'm wondering if this thing may be wanting to maybe it may be wanting to tighten up again here. But no really concrete evidence of that quite yet, other than our normalized rotation product is starting to increase in value. It looks like the Weather Service has cut down the tornado warning polygon. All of Logan County is in the clear now. So all of Logan County, Auburn, let's take this back to a normal frame here. Auburn, Logan County, Russellville, right now you guys are all in the clear. The tornado warnings that we have currently are still in effect for much of central Warren County, as well as parts of Barron and Edmonson County. And this, of course, does include the city of Bowling Green. And let's go back here to looking at this. Right now, Memphis Junction, Rich Pond especially needs to be in shelter, Woodburn, and everybody in the city of Bowling Green needs to be in your tornado safe zone. It's looking like this may want to stick to the south, maybe to the south side of the city of Bowling Green, but it's close enough, and the history of this storm, I would not risk it, and anybody in the city of Bowling Green, you need to be in shelter. Even though this has shown a weakening trend over the past probably 10 minutes, with this storm in this environment, I personally would not risk it. I would be in shelter. Let's see here. We're gonna switch over. Actually, it looks like the White Squirrel weather cam at WKU probably has a pretty good picture of this right now because it is up fairly high. So we're gonna switch over to the White Squirrel weather camera, and there we go. Looks like the storm is starting to get into that area, and I do want to emphasize here what you're seeing is not a tornado. Where it is getting darker, that is not a tornado. That is most likely just the rain mass, but that is still the part of the storm that is tornado warned. So if there is a tornado on the ground, it is clearly rain wrapped. And looks like we will not be able to see it, but we're going to stick with this here just for a few more minutes and watch it on here until until something else happens on radar, because right now it doesn't look like anything else is changing quite yet. But again, I want to emphasize this could tighten up at any moment and put another tornado down. Yeah, that's a very good picture of that storm right now. So that is, again, this is on WKU's campus, facing pretty much due south-southwest at this point, I believe. Let's take a look now at our, see what our Lover's Lane sky cam is looking like. A lot less activity. It's still staying pretty dark. I don't see anything like a wall cloud or anything like that. Pretty uneventful at this stage. Definitely, let's see here, definitely the WKU White Squirrel weather sky cam is getting the best view of the storm as it moves through Bowling Green. And again, you cannot see it. You cannot see a tornado in there. If there's still one on the ground, which is unconfirmed at this point, whether there's one on the ground or not, it is very clearly rain wrapped. Looks like we're getting some reports of some small hail, probably pea-sized hail in Bowling Green. Let's see here. It looks like it's really starting to come down now in Bowling Green. I'm going to switch over to the reflectivity on the instead of correlation coefficient here, and yeah, this is definitely putting down a lot of heavy rain and probably some hail. So it looks like we're getting reports. I'm looking at the chat here. Power out in Auburn. Let's see here. We get a question here about Smiths Grove. Smiths Grove is in the tornado warning, and you guys do need to be in shelter at this point. Anybody in the tornado warning right now, and I'll go ahead and take this back real quick to radar so you guys can see exactly where I'm talking about. But anybody in these pink or red polygons needs to be in shelter. So Bowling Green, Memphis Junction, Rich Pond, Woodburn. Crap, that's hard to. Avaton, probably mispronouncing that. Smiths Grove, Park City, and even the city of Glasgow. You guys need to be in shelter at this point because you guys are under a tornado warning. You have a cell moving through this area that has a history producing damage and tornadoes. It is questionable if there is still a tornado on the ground at this point, but given the environment, it is likely still on the ground. Or, sorry, given this environment, there's still very likely for it to touch back down at any moment. And it looks like this might be a bit of a stretch here, but we'll have to watch over the next couple of frames if this is wanting to tighten up a little. If this is wanting to tighten up again. I'm not willing to say it's tightening up just based off of one frame. But again, given the fact that it's possible. Let's see here. Okay. We should be getting a new radar scan here probably the next minute or two. Got a couple questions here about the storms behind this, so we'll very briefly go ahead and move back to the Hopkinsville radar here. There are still storms to our southwest. These storms down here will likely stay south of Wabbles. Maybe in a few hours they may skim the southeast side, and there are some storms out behind it still too. These are sub-severe at this point, putting down plenty of heavy rain and a little bit of thunder and lightning, but as of right now these are sub-severe, and our severe storms down to our southwest will likely remain to our southwest or to our south through the event. Our biggest concern right now still continues to be the tornado warnings we have right in the heart of Wabbles with Bowling Green, Smiths Grove, Park City, and everything right there. I would imagine probably here in the next few minutes the Weather Service will probably either cancel the particularly dangerous situation, this pink polygon here, let it either expire or cancel it. It goes until, let's see here. Where does it say? Till 3:15. So this pink polygon here, this tornado warning has about 4 minutes left. So I imagine the Weather Service is just going to let it expire, especially as they already have this downstream tornado warning still, and they'll probably keep a normal tornado warning, not a confirmed or particularly dangerous situation. And real quick, I'm just curious, let's go back to our white squirrel weather camera here, and yeah, it looks like we're starting to see the tail end of the heavy rain as it is getting out of the area. So Bowling Green is almost out of this here, and got about 2 to 3 minutes left on the first tornado warning that includes Bowling Green. So Woodburn, Rich Pond, and Memphis Junction here in a few minutes. You guys will likely be out of a warning and can be given the all clear for now. And it looks like I'm going to go back to the national radar. I think that'll give us the best chance here, or best view. Yeah, it's still staying at about a 1.3 on your en route, which is strong, but gosh, I just do not think this is on the ground still. And hopefully it continues to stick that way, but it's still got a pretty good chance of touching back down at any point. It looks like our Lover's Lane Skycam. Actually, I don't think this is updated yet, so I think that one might be down. Let's go back to radar here. Yeah, here, probably within the next minute, you'll see this pink tornado warning, your pink polygon, that should go away. Weather Service is probably just going to let that expire here in a minute. Let's see. Let's go and switch back to. Let's go back to a 2-panel here. Let's stick with velocity over here, and we'll stick with your normalized rotation there. Let's take a look at our chat here. Okay, so at this point, the earlier tornado warning has been allowed to expire. So Woodburn, Rich Pond, you guys are in the all clear. Memphis Junction, you're still about halfway still in the first tornado warning, but here in the next few minutes, the part of the storm that was concerning with the rotational part will be moved out of the area, and you can have an all clear. Bowling Green is still under tornado warning, and it'll still be just a little bit before the part of the storm that is producing that rotation gets out of Bowling Green. So if you're in Bowling Green, stay in your shelter still. Don't leave quite yet. But here soon, you'll probably be able to leave. Looks like it's been holding it's been fairly consistent with how broad it's been. So it's a persistent couplet. I will give it that, but it is definitely weaker. you know, as this thing continues to get, it looks like it's getting longer and longer as it broadens out. I bet this will probably transition into more of a damaging straight line wind threat. If this trend continues, obviously this is still rotating, but it just looks like it's really wanting to just broaden out and probably transition into more of a damaging wind threat. Hopefully that is what happens, but we'll continue to keep an eye on this. I'm gonna take a scroll through Twitter here, see if there's anything new as far as reports go. So on our Twitter, we retweeted, looks like a tweet from the Weather Service in Louisville about 10 minutes ago. There was on the south side of Bowling Green, there is still a definite wall cloud and looked like a bit of a funnel that had just not reached the ground. So like I said, this thing is still spinning quite a bit. It's just much weaker and broader. I would imagine probably the next 5 to 10 minutes, we could probably get the all clear to Bowling Green. It's mostly out of it by now, but Bowling Green is such a large area. I want to be very sure that it is completely out before we say that you are probably in the clear. Memphis Junction, you're definitely in the clear. Smiths Grove's definitely not. Plum Springs is definitely not. And anywhere pretty much along here in west, or northwest in this case, is definitely not in the clear. Looks like a report out of Simpson County that there were no reports of damage, as it kind of briefly went over that part of the area, so that's good. Yeah, this at least at this from the Nashville radar site, the it still looks like it's still probably spinning, but it has become so broad it looks like it is really starting to transition into more of a damaging wind threat. But it's still, I would still not say that there's still zero tornado potential. And at this point, the Weather Service has updated the tornado warning polygon. It takes Bowling Green is completely out of it now. Plum Springs, you're out of it. So Bowling Green, you can get the all clear now. There are no active warnings for Bowling Green. Memphis Junction, like I said earlier, you're all clear. Alvaton, you're all clear. Yeah, Plum Springs, you're okay. Smiths Groves, Park City, and parts of Glasgow are pretty much the biggest cities that are still in this polygon as of now. I'm going to take this back down to one panel here. So again, as far as Bowling Green is concerned, Bowling Green has an all clear. Plum Springs has an all clear. Memphis Junction has an all clear. Alvaton all clear. Pretty much all of western Warren County is all clear. Anything east of 65, though, is still pretty much almost under a warning. All right, we just on our Twitter, we just retweeted about 30 seconds ago a shot that somebody got from Old Stone of what is very clearly a funnel cloud that is awfully close to the ground, but it looks like it may not fully be in touch with the ground. Obviously, this is not currently, this is from earlier, so definitely go check that out. Because again, Bowling Green has an all clear. Even though I'm talking about this video, that is from earlier. Okay. All right. Yeah, this is still definitely continuing to weaken, but we're going to stick with it here until the warning is either expires or is canceled. And it looks like this will be in effect until 4 p.m. 4 p.m. Central Time. So, this current tornado warning that includes Smiths Grove, Park City, and parts of Glasgow will be in effect until 4 p.m. Central Time. Looks like we're getting some reports of the cows going off again. That is probably still because part of Warren County is under a tornado warning, and it looks like mainly in Plum Springs from what the chat is saying, and that does make sense. Most of Plum Springs is out of the warning, but part of it still is too, so that's most likely why. Yeah, looks like if you're hearing the cows go off and you are not in the tornado warning, so if you're in Alvaton, Rich Pond, Woodburn, Memphis Junction, Bowling Green, any of those areas, and you're not under the polygon, you are still all clear. Most likely they're going off because still part of Warren County is under a tornado warning still, so that is most likely why you're hearing that. Let's see here. Looks like over the past few frames, still not really showing any signs of strengthening or tightening up again, but we're going to keep with this here. Smiths Grove, you definitely still need to be near tornado safe shelters, as well as Park City. And also, while we're looking at this here, we're going to back out a little bit, switch to reflectivity, and kind of take a look at what's going on down here to our southwest. I'll put this in motion here. Looks like these storms just to the west of Nashville are definitely staying severe and fairly tornadic, and looks like we may have to watch those out. They may want to kind of skim the southeast side of Wobbles. We'll have to take a look at that, especially the northern half of the line here. Looks like sirens are still going off around Bowling Green. If sirens are going off in Bowling Green, you are still in the clear. We'll have to watch those to see if they kind of take a more turn to the north and impact part of Bowling Green. But due west, or sorry, part of Wobbles, not Bowling Green. Due west, though, of Wobbles, we've got another part of a line that's putting down quite a bit of heavy rain and some lightning, but that is sub-severe at this point. And it looks like a new mesoscale discussion was issued. Let's see. Oh, it's about to expire. That mesoscale discussion's about to expire. Looks like we missed that. That's not important. But we're going to continue to look at this spot and this storm that is moving into Smiths Grove, Park City, and areas in just parts of Glasgow. Switching back to our velocity. Yeah, nothing really that's really sticking out of this. That's screaming tornado on the ground. That's definitely still some rotation. It's probably sticking to a loft, though. In fact, if we keep moving this up, yeah, it's likely just spinning a loft. Highly doubt it's on the ground at this point, but if any part of the storm is going to tighten up and potentially put down a tornado, it's most likely going to be, statistically, it's going to be the southern part down here. That is where this storm would be, normally be able to wrap around and get in some extra rotation. That is not necessarily the case what we're seeing right now. That is just saying statistically, if a part of the storm was going to put down a tornado, most likely it'd be closer to the south side, especially as if it wants to wrap into itself and get some rotation going. Not really seeing anything on velocity yet that really supports that it's wanting to do anything, but it's something that we're going to have to watch. But we're definitely still watching this. Out of curiosity, we're going to switch over to the Hopkinsville radar. At this point, Nashville's probably going to be the best site to use. Yeah, it looks like it may be wanting to spit out some rotation near Smiths Grove. That's probably still what's really prompting the tornado warning. And maybe, again, if you really want to grasp at straws, maybe something down here near just south of Oakland, but I think that's grasping at straws at this point. Let's see, the beam height at this point is about 4,600 feet. I think I mentioned this earlier. As a rule of thumb, just as a general rule, you want to stick with a radar that gives you the beam closest to the ground. Sometimes there are situations where you don't want that. They're right about the same. This is about 4,500 feet. So as this gets further away, Nashville will be the better site, and then as it moves outside of Wobbles, Louisville will be the best radar site to use. It's looking like it may be wanting to do something north of Smith, near Smiths Grove and north of Smiths Grove near Park City. It may be wanting to do something there, but let's just see what is going on. Okay. But as far as future threats goes, we're gonna go back to reflectivity here. This stuff down here is likely going to be our next thing to watch. One of them is tornado warned, and it looks like this is really starting to, compared to the stuff down here, this may be wanting to take a bit more turn to the north. So that is something that we'll be watching. This will be probably the next hour or two before it's something that we really need to be concerned about, but we'll be watching it nevertheless. That would be the next thing of concern. But switching back to velocity here. Yeah, it's still fairly questionable, the strength of the rotation here, but it's still definitely wanting to spin. Okay. All right. Probably here in the next 5 to 10 minutes, Smiths Grove will be able to be in the all clear, and probably in the next 5 to 10 minutes, this thing should be entirely out of Bowling Green as well. Again, this tornado warning is set to expire at 4 p.m. I believe, 4 p.m. Central. 4 p.m. Central. So we've still got about 25 minutes of this, unless something happens. If this thing continues to weaken, I would not be surprised if the Weather Service cancels it. But given that this is still a conducive environment for severe weather and tornadoes, I can see them still keeping it and just letting it expire, because these things can, it hasn't done this yet, but it can very easily go from very broad rotation to a quick tight and quick spin up very fast. while this is still doing that, I'm going to take another look down here at the storms down here to our southwest, as again these were likely going to be our next focus over the next probably 1 to 2 hours. And it looks like this is confirmed to be on the ground. Yeah, that thing's probably on the ground, and that will be moving into, if it keeps going, probably want to, yeah, that will definitely be on a collision course with probably Simpson County, maybe Allen, but that's getting ahead of ourselves just a little bit, so it's something to watch, but nothing to stress out about quite yet. We will cross that bridge together when we come to it. Looks like Smiths Grove, I would say you are all clear of this. Park City, you are not, and Northwest Glasgow, you also should technically be in shelter right now. Cave City, looks like there's pretty heavy thunderstorms there right now, but you are not under a tornado warning, so you are all clear. Mammoth Cave is all clear. Brownsville is all clear. In fact, I don't think anywhere. Yeah, none of our sky cams really have a good picture on this. And yeah. So this is still what we continue to monitor, but we'll still need to keep an eye out to our southwest, as I imagine this is going to be our next area of concern, because this is starting to, let me take a look at our environment here. This storm right here looks like it's about to outrun its instability. There's still plenty of wind energy, so it may keep it together as far as being a strong storm, but tornadic potential may start to drop off even more here soon, and it may start to weaken as a whole. But unfortunately, our cells down here are in a much more favorable environment, and I can imagine these sticking together at least until the Kentucky-Tennessee line. And in fact, if I look at satellite here, interesting. Okay. Looks like we're also getting reports of quite a bit of power outages around Bowling Green. The storm down here, it looks like it's continuing to really probably weaken at this point. We got about 15 minutes until the warning is allowed to expire. I doubt the Weather Service will cancel it at this point. They are probably just going to let it expire and then move on from there. But Smiths Grove, you were all clear. I'd say pretty much all of Warren County at this point. You are still technically under a warning, but at this point, excuse me, the part of the storm that was producing the tornadic signatures have moved out of the county. So I would say at this point, all of Warren County is all clear at this point. We've still got storms down to our southwest that we will need to be monitoring. And while this isn't necessarily on a collision course with Warren County itself, I want to emphasize that all of WABBLES at this point is under the threat still of continual tornado chances and could be under warnings later on. So Don't let your guard down quite yet. We'll get through this together, but unfortunately it's not entirely over yet. And we still have that tornado watch that goes in until 7 p.m. And even though this first wave has gone through, I don't think they're going to let that expire early, at least for our area. In fact, I'm going to check real quick, see if any part of that has been canceled yet, because I think part of it has. Looks like part of it has, but all of WABBLES still remains in it. All right. Again, we're gonna focus in on back here, and we've also got. Oh, come on. Some more thunderstorms moving into kind of the same areas that were just under the warnings about an hour and a half ago. These are sub-severe and probably just going to be putting out a lot of heavy rain, maybe some hail, and maybe a little bit of thunder and lightning, but right now those are sub-severe. But focusing back over here, switching over to our velocity, it's still spinning, it's still rotating aloft being, of course, up in the storm itself, but I doubt anything is really happening at the surface at this point, other than some gusty winds. In fact, I'm going to take a look here at the Mesonet site. See if they've picked up any strong wind gusts. I haven't heard anything about it, so I don't think they have. No, nothing crazy. So Park City looks like it's the biggest community of concern at this point. It looks like, in all honesty, this is probably going to miss the entirety of Glasgow. So I know part of Glasgow, especially the northwest part, is under tornado warning, but at this point I'd say you are probably going to be all clear. This should stay well north. Park City and Cave City are going to be the biggest thing, but Cave City is outside of the tornado warning. Park City is not. Park City is still under the warning, and we'll continue to monitor it. Again, keep an eye here on Twitter for any sort of reports. I don't think we're really going to get any at this point. I doubt this thing even has a funnel cloud on it anymore. Okay. Got about 13 minutes until this thing expires. Park City, you guys will probably be in the all clear here soon. and I highly doubt the Weather Service will be issuing another tornado warning outside of this. This is still fairly strong as a thunderstorm in general, so I can see them doing another severe thunderstorm warning. That I feel like is pretty likely, but probably not another tornado warning, at least not for now. And definitely not for Wobbles. It'll most likely be on the outside, except part of Barron County here might be under it, but the warning probably should stay outside of Wobbles. Been on here so long, losing my mind. Yeah, that is definitely nothing compared to what we saw earlier as far as rotation goes. Okay. Okay. I'll take a look at our sky cams here. Actually, looks like our Gold City sky cam is looking kind of dark again. Come on, there we go. Kind of dark to the right side of the screen as another, I guess it's the same line of storms kind of comes back in to view here. This is certainly an active day for us. Let's see here. Yep, and there is a new severe thunderstorm warning for our cell in question. It looks like, yeah, it makes sense. They opted not to extend a new tornado warning, but rather a severe thunderstorm warning, which makes complete sense. So that does include northern Barron County here, Hinesville, Cave City is under this warning, not a tornado warning, but the severe thunderstorm warning. Here we're talking about 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts, and this will be going until 4:30 p.m. Maybe some small hail with this too, but that really is not listed as a huge concern in the warning text. And they have trimmed off the tornado warning to exclude all of Edmonson County, and of course obviously Warren County is out of it, so it just includes pretty much Park City and areas north of Glasgow and Barron County. But that will expire here in just less than 10 minutes, so as soon as the tornado warning here expires, we're going to go ahead and end the stream for now until things get closer, and we may have to come back on here if these storms to our southwest make it into wobbles. If they do, and if they're still severe or tornadic, we will hop right back on here and walk you guys and talk you guys through it as well. But that is all for pretty much it. And let me show you guys exactly what I was talking about as far as the warning getting it trimmed off and everything. There's your new severe thunderstorm warning that includes Cave City, Hinesville, Horse Cave, which is outside of the Wobbles area. Park City is pretty much the only big community that is in what is left of the tornado warning, and that is set to expire here in about 7 minutes. This free thunderstorm warning, though, goes until 4:30 p.m., so this has got a little bit more time left of it. And as far as our rotation is concerned, it's pretty much non-existent now. Maybe some weak spinning now, but at this point, it's pretty much done. And real quick, to give probably one last update on the storms down here. We are watching this, and this one, honestly, this may not even be on the ground anymore, but these are going to continue to move, and probably within the next hour be on the border of wobbles. It's unclear if they're still going to be needing warnings at that point. If they are, we'll hop right back on here, but at this point, I say it's anybody's game. The strongest storm is definitely down here, and that one will probably stay into the southwest or southeast wobbles for the entirety of its duration. But we'll be watching it nevertheless. But yeah, I'd say this thing has pretty much lost all of its tornadic signature. But we are still watching the potential for it to put out some damaging winds, because we are looking at, yeah, I can still see this popping out some damaging winds. Haven't gotten any reports of this putting out damage since Bowling Green, so that is a good sign, though. Okay. Okay. Yeah, we just got about just a couple more minutes until this tornado warning expires. When that does, we'll go ahead and end the stream there until we may be needed later. let's see. In all honesty, it looks like this storm is falling apart altogether as a whole, not just from a tornadic standpoint, but from just a storm standpoint as a whole. Let me switch to the Louisville radar, see what it looks like. But yeah, that thing's pretty weak, and it's barely having any lightning signatures, so this thing, I bet, is on its way out, and it probably will be completely, it'll probably dissipate completely soon. Let's switch back down here to Nashville site. But let's see here. All right, and as of now, the tornado warning has expired, and I imagine probably the severe thunderstorm warning will probably cut cut out for most of WABBLES here very soon. At this point, we're going to go ahead and cut the live stream. We are going to continue to watch storms that are down to our southwest. If those get into WABBLES and are needing warnings, we'll be right back here. Until then, keep an eye on Twitter, Facebook. That is where we'll be doing the most updates. Stay safe out there, guys, and have a great rest of your day.